Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christian, and welcome to CatechesisCraft, where we talk Christianity and play Minecraft. This is the 95th installment in a series of videos designed as a teaching tool, with the goal of being applicable to all audiences, regardless of how much, how little, or what fashion of faith that you, my wonderful viewers, might have. Today, for our America 250 special, let's dive into the life of Bishop John Carroll, the first Archbishop of Baltimore and ultimately the first Bishop of the United States. As I'm sure you can tell, we have a lot to get into, but first I'd like to reiterate the fact that this channel is not focused on Christian polemics. I'm not here to criticize you specifically, my wonderful viewers, for your type of Christianity, and nor am I here to force any of you into believing exactly every single thing that I believe. I have faith that each of you watching this video is more than intelligent enough to tell the difference between objective analysis and subjective preferences, but of course, it does bear repeating. One final thing. If this, or any of my previous work, helps or entertains you in any way, please consider sharing this with someone who you know would benefit the most from it. Now, without further ado, let's talk about the life of Bishop John Carroll. John Carroll was the third son born to Daniel Carroll, an Irish immigrant to Upper Marlborough in Maryland, and Eleanor Darnall, a wealthy relative of the Carrolls of Carrollton. His eldest brother, who is unnamed, died in infancy, and his second brother, Daniel Carroll Jr., would go on to be a major figure in the American Revolution. Born in or near Upper Marlborough, John is believed to have been baptized in Boone's Chapel, which is now Most Holy Rosary Catholic Church. His encyclopedia entry on Catholic Answers informs us that he was later educated at a Jesuit grammar school in Bohemia, Maryland. Quote, "When 12 years of age, he went to the Jesuits' grammar school at Bohemia in Cecil County, Maryland, where he was assiduous in study, pious and amiable. After 1 year there, he went abroad to St. Omer's College in French Flanders, and for 6 years pursued a liberal education with marked capability of mind, attention to studies, and docility and kindness in manner." Following his father's passing in 1750, John endeavored to join the Society of Jesus, colloquially known as the Jesuits, and would succeed in 1753. Finally, after 14 years of seminary study at the College of St. Omer in France, Carroll was ordained a priest at the age of 34. After a 4-year stint teaching philosophy and theology at the same college, the now Father Carroll traveled through Europe in the winter of 1772 to 73. While he stayed in England as a guest at Wardour Castle, he would receive word in September that Pope Clement XIV had issued a papal bull suppressing and dissolving the Society of Jesus. Returning to his mother's home in Rock Creek, Maryland, after mounting a defense of the Jesuits in a letter to Pope Clement XIV, he went on to build a small frame chapel where he would celebrate Mass. While Maryland was originally intended by the colony's founder, Cecil Calvert, the second Baron of Baltimore, to be a refuge for England's Catholic minority, among which he counted himself, which was about 10% of all Englishmen at the time, and the fact that the Maryland Toleration Act of 1649 was passed to legally protect any form of Christian expression, the act was later repealed in 1654, and by the time of Father Carroll's ministry, Catholicism was publicly discriminated against within the colony and at large across the 13 colonies. As such, Father Carroll believed his calling as a Catholic priest was missionary work within his hometown and the colony at large. Quote, "As a result of laws discriminating against Catholics, there was then no public Catholic church in Maryland, so Father Carroll began the life of a missionary in Maryland and Virginia. He built a tiny frame chapel on his mother's estate, and here on Sundays, in her house on weekdays, he said Mass when at home. During the next 2 years, he devoted the time left from his devotions to the study of ancient literature and current topics in order to increase his knowledge, yet he did not neglect his social obligations. Apropos of his support at the time, he himself wrote, Catholics contributed nothing to the support of religion in its ministers. The whole maintenance fell on the priests themselves. The produce of their lands was sufficient to answer their demands. In February of 1776, when invited by Benjamin Franklin, Samuel Chase, and his own relative, Charles Carroll of Carrollton, Father John Carroll joined their mission to Canada to seek its neutrality or, perhaps, assistance in the upcoming war, should tensions break between Britain and the 13 colonies. While the mission was ultimately a failure, as Canada was simply unwilling to either join with or remain neutral to the 13 colonies, Father Carroll's influence on his fellow countrymen was great enough that 4 of the 13 colonies would revoke their penal laws and legal discrimination against Catholics. Quote, in 1776, when a committee composed of Benjamin Franklin, Samuel Chase, and Charles Carroll of Carrollton was about to be sent by the Continental Congress to seek the neutrality of Canada during the War of Independence, by a special resolution, Charles Carroll of Carrollton was requested to prevail on Mr. John Carroll to accompany the committee to Canada, to assist them in such matters as they shall think useful. He accepted the honorable office and spent the remainder of the winter in Canada. He found, however, that it was too late to discuss the question of union with the revolted colonies, or even neutrality, and returned to New York at the end of May in company with Benjamin Franklin. His influence on his fellow countrymen, even at this period, may be surmised from the fact that, though out of the constitutions adopted by the 13 states, only 4 did away with the old penal laws and allotted Catholics absolute equality with other citizens, yet these, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Virginia, and Maryland, were situated nearest to Father Carroll. For the length of the war, Father Carroll chose to live and care for his mother, Eleanor, and refused any other assignment than continuing his work in the colonies, including those asked of him by his former superior of the Jesuits and Vicar General of London, Father Lewis. At the time, he continued to minister to the nearly 20,000 Catholics in Maryland. With the end of the American Revolution in 1783, Father Carroll and 5 other priests convened in White Marsh, Maryland, to discuss how to both continue their missionary work in the new nation and ensure that their properties were not redistributed by the Holy See. In doing so, Father Carroll and his fellow priests drafted regulations that they would then bind all other Catholic clergy to in Maryland. Quote, it is the opinion of a majority of the chapter that a superior, in spiritualibus, with powers to give confirmation, grant faculties, dispensations, bless oils, etc., is adequate to the present exigencies of religion in this country. Resolved, therefore, first, that a bishop is at present unnecessary. Second, that if one is sent, is decided by the majority of the chapter that he shall not be entitled to any support from the present estates of the clergy. Third, that a committee of 3 be appointed to prepare and give an answer to Rome comfortable to the above resolution. Under these regulations, all Maryland priests would be guaranteed a minimum stipend equal to £30 sterling every year, which is approximately $7,851.50 in today's USD. And each Maryland priest agreed to offer 10 masses for every priest who had died during the American Revolution. With a petition sent to Rome for the missionaries in the United States to be granted permission to appoint their own superior, Pope Pius VI granted their request, and the missionaries appointed Father Carroll as their superior, who was now given certain powers, usually retained by a bishop, including the conferring of the sacraments of confirmation and holy orders. Now the superior of the missions in all 13 states, he was commanded by the Holy See to send a report on the Catholicity of the United States. Father Carroll would personally report that in Maryland there were near 15,000 following the Revolution, which was about 9,000 freemen, about 3,000 children, and about 3,000 African slaves, who all professed the Catholic faith. While not wishing for a Catholic bishop to be placed over the United States, as tension between the Catholic Church in the United States and the Protestant populace that vastly outnumbered them, Father Carroll recognized the need among the faithful for an American bishop, and accepted Pope Pius VI's offer of appointment to the position. While he accepted, he also requested that in future the clergy of the United States be granted a system by which they may participate in the appointment process, so that the government of this fledgling nation did not see it as a foreign power appointing leadership within the nation. These requests and acceptances were sent alongside Father Carroll's report to Pope Pius VI, who enthusiastically granted Father Carroll's request. Quote, Father Carroll was, all the while, distracted, personally wishing the rehabilitation of the Society of Jesus and to remain himself a Jesuit, but officially seeing the need of a bishop, and that too an American. He decided to accept the Pope's appointment of himself, and forthwith, as Prefect Apostolic, sent to Cardinal Antonelli his acceptance of that office, but urged that some method of appointing church authorities be adopted by Rome that would not make it appear as if they were receiving their appointment from a foreign power. The Pope was so pleased with Father Carroll's report that he granted his request, that the priests in Maryland be allowed to suggest 2 or 3 names from which the Pope could choose their bishop. Following these events, Father Carroll took up residence in Baltimore, Maryland, and is recorded as having been particularly influential in municipal, spiritual, and social matters. Father Carroll established several schools, both Catholic and non-Catholic, including Georgetown University, and was on the board of trustees for St. John's College in Annapolis and Baltimore College. Simultaneously, he was the president of the Female Humane Charity School in Baltimore, which assisted widows and orphans of the Revolutionary War. On a national level, Father Carroll, as Prefect Apostolic of the 13 states, represented to Congress the need for protection against religious persecution among and against the varying branches of Christian traditions, most commonly and particularly against Catholics. He is therefore recognized as partly responsible for Article 6, Section 3 of the United States Constitution, and similar non-persecutory language of Christian traditions in the First Amendment. Quote, the senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. But no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. Quote, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Recognizing the need for a national representative of church authority, Father Carroll and the priests of Maryland petitioned Rome to permit the appointment of a Bishop of the United States. Cardinal Antonelli granted this request and stated that the missionaries need only name the city and the candidate. 24 of the 25 priests nominated Father Carroll, and on the 6th of November in 1789, Pope Pius VI accepted Father Carroll's appointment, in which the following year, on the 15th of August, Bishop Carroll was consecrated by Reverend Charles Walmsley, the Vicar Apostolic of England. Quote, church troubles, trusteeism in New York, and nationalism in Philadelphia at this time decided the priests of Maryland to petition Rome for a bishop of the United States. Cardinal Antonelli replied, allowing the priests on the mission to select the city and, for this case only, to name the candidate for presentation to the Pope. 24 of the 25 other priests in the meeting voted for Father Carroll. Accordingly, on November 6, 1789, Pope Pius VI appointed him bishop. His consecration took place August 15, 1790. At the hands of the Right Reverend Charles Walmsley. Bishop Carroll returned to Baltimore in triumph, December 7th, when he preached an appropriate and touching sermon in St. Peter's Church. At the inauguration of President George Washington as the first president of the United States, Bishop Carroll and the Catholic laity at large joined in celebration, constructing an address directed toward him. In reply, President Washington wrote the following, quote, "I presume that your fellow citizens will not forget the patriotic part which you took in the accomplishment of their revolution, and the establishment of your government, or the important assistance which they received from a nation in which the Roman Catholic faith is professed." Bishop Carroll's reply to this letter reaffirms the equal dedication to the Revolutionary War of the Catholic laity as that of any other patriot in the fight, equally spilling their own blood in the fight for freedom. Quote, "Their blood flowed as freely in proportion to their numbers to cement the fabric of independence as that of any of their fellow citizens. They concurred with perhaps greater unanimity than any other body of men in recommending and promoting that government from whose influence America anticipates all the blessings of justice, peace, plenty, good order, and civil and religious liberty." In his latter years, Bishop Carroll would go on to be named the Archbishop of Baltimore, and was given New York City, Philadelphia, Boston, and Bardstown as suffragan, or secondary, sees to be bishop over. In 1810, he would join fellow bishops that he had consecrated in creating a framework for important regulations that would govern American clergy and laity alike. Knowing that his life was coming to an end, he had to decline the honor of laying the cornerstone of Baltimore's Washington Monument. And in a final reply to a Protestant minister, Bishop Carroll reaffirmed his lifelong devotion to the faith, to the cross, and most of all, a lifelong devotion to the Blessed Mother. Quote, "To a Protestant minister who said to the dying prelate that his hopes were now directed to another world, Archbishop Carroll replied, 'Sir, my hopes have been always fixed on the cross of Christ.' A short while after, he said, 'Of those things that give me most consolation at the present moment, one is that I have always been attached to the practice of devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary, that I have established it among the people under my care, and placed my diocese under her protection.'" In life, many desire to live in a time other than that which they find themselves in. Many today yearn for times long past, worrying about their immediate future and the consequences of the choices made by those in power on the collective future of all. In the life of Bishop John Carroll, he took an active role in promoting the faith, protecting the faithful, providing for the Church in the fledgling United States, and ensuring constitutional protections for those who profess the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. Not willing to allow his own desire to have lived another life, one as a simple Jesuit priest in a time without the flames of revolution, he recognized the great opportunity to advance the faith before him and provided for the faithful entrusted to him. For this 250th anniversary of the United States, we say, God bless the USA, and Bishop John Carroll, pray for us. No matter what denomination or lack thereof that you ascribe to, I hope this has been educational and has given you, my wonderful viewers, a discussion, dissection, and explanation of the life of Bishop John Carroll, the first bishop of the United States. As always, I highly suggest that if you are interested in a deeper understanding of a specific denomination's doctrine, the best place to go will always be an actual pastor, priest, or well-lettered theologian in that tradition. I am merely a layman, doing the very best that I can with the gifts that God has given me, and hopefully illuminating the path along the way for all of you. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, if you have found it informative or educational in any way, please consider leaving a like, commenting what you gained most from it, and of course, please share this or any previous work with those who you believe would benefit the most from it. If you're interested in more videos like this, good news! Next Sunday, we will continue to pray, meditate, and dissect topics with more content well on its way, so please make sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications for future releases. This has been the 95th installment in what I pray will be a long and fruitful series, taking biblical topics and concepts large and small and forming them into simple, digestible bites, with some amount of gameplay in the back because, let's face it, it's nice to have something on screen while you're learning. Please leave a comment if you would like a certain topic to be covered, as I do read as many comments as I can on these videos, and it's always good to know what my audience wants to see. If you would like the opportunity for your questions to be read out in a video, please send your Q&A questions to our email, CatechesisCraft@gmail.com. While these videos are currently on hiatus because I have yet to receive more Q&A questions, I will occasionally be posting Q&A videos where I answer directly the questions you guys have about Christianity. Now, of course, there's nothing off the table, but I simply cannot guarantee that every single question will be answered in every single one of these Q&A style videos. Even still, my goal is to make this an open resource of simple, straightforward, and clear answers that accurately represent the beliefs of Christians across time. If you'd like to pick up a Bible for yourself, which, as I'm sure you can tell, is pretty central to our work here, please consider checking out our video on Bible translations and using the links below that video for your choice. Each product linked in the description of that video utilizes Amazon affiliate links, and every purchase using these links costs absolutely nothing extra for you, but provides us here at CatechesisCraft with a small percentage to help fund our work. You can also become a supporter on Locals for just $10 per month and get access to supplementary articles, blog posts, and, at some point, live streams and access to a Minecraft server, both of which are coming soon in the biblical sense. But all of that is completely optional. I'm excited to be on this journey with all of you, and I'm extremely thankful for the fact that you chose to watch this video. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, whenever you happen to be watching this. God bless, happy 250th anniversary of the United States, and I'll see you all next time.